and gentlemen, we have some special guests, special co-hosts in the building. I got to be a gentleman and introduce first actress Shay. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I am doing good. How are you?
Good, good. And also we have Brother Q in the building, another special guest co-host.
Peace.
There we go. There we go. And of course, I got to introduce this brother the right way because he is our special guest for today. Ladies and gentlemen, director, writer, author, and also stop me if I get it wrong. Director, writer, author, actor, from working behind the scenes to on the screen, this dude is talented. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Joe Carroll.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for having me.
Man, thank you, thank you. How are you doing again, brother? You doing all right?
Man, I'm doing all right, man. Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's a nice, chilly Saturday morning, so I'm enjoying it. We don't get chilly days in LA very often, so any reason I get to put on a hoodie, I'll take it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as he sips his drink, I like how
Yep.
you like, yes, yeah.
I got my iced latte. I'm ready.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And LA is beautiful as well too. And I know y'all recently still getting over the fires and everything. So hearts and prayers to everybody that was affected by that as well. I don't know if you was affected by that, but anybody that you do know of, our family and friends, we forever send our hearts and prayers out to you guys that's going through that.
Yeah, it was a wild time, and I feel like I'm always telling people like LA is always on fire. Like
Hmm.
I'm sure there's a fire going on right now. I'm not even trying to be funny. LA is always on fire somewhere. But that was definitely one of the biggest ones that the city's ever seen, and it was devastating for a lot of people. Thankfully, I wasn't directly affected, but I did have some friends who were displaced for a little bit. I actually took some people in for a little bit, and then at one point, the fire was making its way to me. I could actually see the flames from my street, like stepping on my sidewalk, and I was just like, I guess I'll start packing. I don't know where we're gonna go. So,
Yeah.
because I had at one point I had five fires around me.
Oh wow.
So getting to the point where I was just like, I need an evacuation route because at some point they're going to close in.
Right.
And thankfully they start putting them out, but at one point I had five fires around me and I was just like, well, this is how it ends, I guess.
Whew.
Yeah, I know, right? I happened to be in Cali, but I wasn't in LA, so I was safe. I was
Yeah.
about 25 minutes from the nearest one. I was in West Covina.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty scary. My brother actually lives in downtown LA, so
Mm,
it was a very interesting situation. But I'm glad you guys are all safe.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to know who is Joe Carroll and where are you originally from, good sir? Talk to
Oh
us.
boy. You want that story. I'm originally from Nashville. Nashville, Tennessee is where I was born and raised. And that's where my career started. Um, I was an actor at first, before COVID. Wait, I'm not gonna blame COVID, but let's just
Mm,
say COVID. Wait. But I was an actor at first. I did a lot of stage productions. Um, I did theater in middle school and high school, and as I grew up, I did like local productions, like commercials and music videos. But in Nashville, Nashville then is completely different from Nashville now, what we call
mm,
New Nashville. Um, you didn't know that like the production world existed. You just knew like there were movies and TV shows, but you didn't know what the world was like. Um, so I was doing my little thing, I did my little shows here and there, but it wasn't until like I had finished high school. I was in college. I was studying psychology at the time. And I was like, man, I wish I knew where to start. I was running my own production company by the time I was like halfway through college because I was doing commercials and music videos like for independent artists, and I was working really heavily in the local music scene. But then
In
I
Nashville.
in Nashville, this is all in
mm.
Nashville. I was shooting
Nice.
short films. Like I had a team. My production team was never on time productions because I was always late to everything. Um, that's right. That's right. And we had a good time. Like we were having a great time, but it wasn't until the show Nashville came to Nashville. I think that was in
Mm.
2012. And I was like, what? We're getting a show. And I was like, who wants to watch that? Went on for six seasons.
Yeah.
And, and I got a call one day because, I was a background actor. That's how I started on the show. I got a call and it's like, hey, do you want to come like play a photographer on the show or something like that? I forgot.
Mhm.
Something like down at City Hall. And I was like, really? I was like, yeah, I guess. And I showed up to this set, and man, when I tell you, I was like, yo, this is
Yeah.
legit. You know, you think you're doing something because you got a little camera, your little tripod, you got a light,
Yeah,
I got a little lamp in the background,
right.
thinking I'm doing it. I'm Joe Carroll. Man, I showed up to this thing, I said, oh my God. I mean, like, lights are 40, 50 feet in the air hanging above your head, and two, 300 background actors. But that's where it all started. I started in Nashville, on Nashville, but I had worked on some shows prior to that. I started off in reality. I did reality for 4 years before getting into narrative. So it's been all over the place. I'm still all over the place.
That's what we all are because we're actors and writers as well too. So we know how
Right.
it is. Like you're just trying to find this thing, figure it out. That's pretty cool. That I didn't know that they actually filmed Nashville in Nashville because
Nashville.
they have what is it? Just we had this one guy on here by the name of Brandon, and he told us that they actually filmed Abbott Elementary in L.A. and they based it in Philadelphia. And I'm like, wait, hold on, y'all not? So that's cool
Oh
that
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So,
It's very interesting, especially the more you work behind the scenes and you see where they film these shows. It's so
hmm
wild, like especially like on a studio backlot when you think we're in New York and we're just right down the street here in LA. But these backlots have these intricate settings that are established on the. I'm just saying this for anyone who's watching, like, who doesn't
right.
understand. Like, they have these huge backlots set up to look like New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, and it's amazing to say that we'll be in Toronto or we'll be in St. Louis, and we're
hmm
right here on Hollywood Boulevard. Tell you, it's
Exactly.
it's it's amazing the world that we pull over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Texas wise, they always talk about when look at it for anybody watching for LA. I know you in LA. For anybody who's watching, Texas don't always we're not always filming around cows and horses and tumbleweeds because every time they show that we got to show that they in Texas. We do have cities and downtowns as well too. So
They
yeah.
know it. They don't want to admit it. They don't want to acknowledge it.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah, go ahead, Lachey.
So, you gave us a little bit about you, your
Mhm.
backstory. What would you say is your favorite aspect when it comes to the film world in general? Is it behind the camera, in front of the camera? Like, what really like captivates you?
Definitely behind the camera. I started. I don't know. I started acting just because I thought it was just something to do. It was fun, and again, at the time, I didn't know that this world existed.
Mm,
This like this the world of Hollywood. You hear Hollywood, but you don't really know what Hollywood is. It's not just a place. Hollywood is not just a place. It's also like a mindset. It's a lot of things. I'm getting to answer your question though. Um,
Take your time.
Acting was fun, and I think it helped me into my favorite thing, which is directing. Um, Directing is what I love to do. Even as a kid, I knew I was gonna like be a director. I
Mhm.
watched Lifetime movies with my grandmother. And this was back when Lifetime was like all white ladies falling in the woods.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's just when it was only those movies. And so that was what me and my grandma did. We were up Saturdays, she'd be picking greens and I'd be watching Lifetime movies with her. And one day I remember I looked up, I was not that old. I was like, Grandma, these movies are all the same. It was like, there she goes. She's about to run. I was like, here she goes. She's about to run into the woods and she's gonna fall. The dude's gonna get her. It was every Saturday. And then one day I was just like, yeah, and then here we go. And so one day I was like, Grandma, I was like, I'm gonna start. I was like, I'm gonna make some of these movies. And she was like, all right, she's just picking her greens, she ain't studying it. Who would know it? I would actually go on to produce Lifetime movies like years later. It was wild. But I think when it comes to directing, um, you can really, I hate to use the word control, but you can control the narrative.
Yeah.
You set a tone in so many ways, both on camera and off camera, depends on how you are with your crew. You
Mm,
know, I think it's really important to establish a rapport as early as possible, because you just have more fun. And even
Mhm.
when it's a serious movie, when you're having fun, the days fly by. everyone's more into it. Everybody wants to see the project succeed. And I'm really big on working on projects where everyone's proud of what they're doing.
Right. Right. So not only have you been behind the camera, in front of the camera, but you write.
Yeah.
So let's
Yes.
talk about that. Simple Confessions. Let's talk about that.
Okay. Simple Confessions, ironically, was a soap opera. In fact, if I were the age I am now, back when I started Simple Confessions would have been today's Beyond the Gates. I originally wrote Simple Confessions to be a soap opera. And again, I'm living in Nashville. So I have my little camera, my little tripod, and I call my friends up and I'm like, yo, let's shoot this thing. They're like, okay. This is back in the day where you just call your friends and they'll just show up. We didn't have
Right.
jobs, we're just sitting around doing nothing. So I call my friends like, hey, I need you guys to come. We're gonna shoot this little thing I'm trying to write. And they showed up. It was the next day. It was a Friday. I was like, get yourself together. I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah.
Um, and so I wrote like these little scenes, like you see these concept trailers, and people are writing out these fake trailers and shooting them, hoping to get things picked up. And that's what I did for Simple Confessions. So I shot like this minute and 12-second trailer. This is back in 2006. And I was like, yeah, it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hot. I was like, it's gonna be the first black soap opera. We shot it and then nothing ever happened. And I was just like, womp womp. So for 8 years, everyone's like, so what we're gonna do with Simple Confessions? What we're gonna do? And finally, one day, Brinzy Thompson, good friend of mine, I actually worked for her sometimes. She owns a PR company in Florida. She called me and said, what are you going to do with Simple Confessions? I was like, I don't know. I'm like Tyrese. I'm like, what do you want from me? And I said, you know what I'll do? I'll write a book. I was like, I'll turn it into a book. And that's where it started. I was like, because I love the stories that I'm telling in Simple Confessions, I'm just like throwing you all the drama that you can get. You know what I'm saying? We open up on a murder, the body goes missing. Who got the body? It's like a funeral home. Who got the body? And meanwhile, we're trying to figure out, did the brother kill him? Did the wife kill him? Um, and that's really where it started. I love like it's reading a soap opera. And so I wanted to base Simple Confessions, it's a 7-book series, 2 are out so far. I wanted to base each book thematically on the 7 sins, on the 7 deadly sins. And so that was the idea at the time. I am still working on book 3. I know it's been a long time, but it's on the way, I promise. One day.
One day.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular style that you try to stick with or a genre that you try to stay in?
I'm all
Or do you
about the
have
drama. I'm sorry, I
drama?
didn't cut you off.
No, you good. Good.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
I'm all about
drama.
drama. Like I'm all about thrillers, suspense. There's a level to it where you creep into horror, but I'm not a horror guy.
Mm.
I love watching horror. But there's something about building up the suspense as long as there's a good payoff to it,
Right.
obviously. But like setting up these worlds and these characters and showing like where these worlds are going to collide, who's going to clash with who, you know, giving an audience like a twist and turn, especially when people think they know what's going on. I love that when someone's like, "Oh, I know what's about to happen," and then when they tell you, it's like, "You got me." I'm like, "Yes, yes." It's such a good feeling when you know you tricked your audience, but they enjoyed it
Yeah.
because audiences love to be people love to be tricked. People love to be scared. Like people go on roller coasters because they want a thrill. People watch scary movies like me. I watch scary movies. I like the thrill of being scared. I know it sounds crazy, but like when it's over, you're like, whoa, that was fun.
Yeah.
As long as I was in danger, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So do
what?
you write from go ahead, Jamie.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you write from, or percentage wise, right? Because I know it's no one way, but do you write from like what ifs, or do you write from, just like something that is true to you or your experiences? Like, what's the percentage of make believe? Like, I wonder what could I do? Testing the boundaries type.
So it's both for me personally. It's both. Um, Simple Confessions is loosely based on real people, and yeah, I know, right? Clock that. And so, and I actually, before I released Simple Confessions, I had to sit and really think because I was like, I'm using real names here.
Mm.
Now, again, the stories aren't real, but I'm using real names. And so these people are gonna read these books and like, that's me. Like, I played this character in the 1 minute trailer we did, you know. Everyone signed off on it, like they realized who they were. But getting to answer your question, I take people I know, I put them in these scenarios, you know, and I say, okay, like, oh, I'm gonna write my friend Tasha play this role. I'm gonna write my homie, you know, and she gonna be sleeping with homeboy, and then
Yeah.
she'll like, what? You think I'm gonna sleep with him? It's like, no, you know, it's obviously it's a book, but I'm taking real people I know, putting
Mhm.
them in these like not hypothetical but fictional stories, and I just go from there. Like I don't know, I can't explain how my mind works. Sometimes I work backwards. Sometimes I'll think of how I want something to end before I even get to the beginning of it.
Mhm.
Uh, like with book one, I had no idea how it was going to end. In fact, book one was actually book one and two combined. And when I finished the first book, it was 400 pages. And I said, nobody's going to read 400 pages. I gotta cut this in half,
Yeah.
you know. And I did that, and that's how I got book one and book two. I had to change the endings a little bit. But it's mostly like just putting these people in like these hypothetical hella dramatic situations. You know, like I'm over exaggerating the drama as much as I can to make it, but trying to keep it realistic, you know, to keep it exciting because I'm learning more and more. The stories that I'm telling aren't that far-fetched from reality sometimes.
Right.
Of course.
You know, like sometimes you'll read these headlines and you're like, oh, this is very similar to a fictional story I just read about or
Mhm.
something I'm writing. Um, I hope that answered the question. I know I just sort of go off the rails sometimes.
No, that was perfect, and it's interesting. And I know James, I know you got a question, but piggybacking off of that, so when you're writing and you're using their names, are your characters, their traits different from who they are? Are you writing them in it? Like, how do you separate that, or do you separate it?
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's
Okay,
them.
okay,
And to the point where I'm really personal, like everything I do is personal. So like Simple Confessions, it's all people I know or know of. Um,
Mhm.
Natasha is based on one of my very good friends, Natasha, like her name's Tasha. She's from Nashville. Lady B is, you know, one of my really good friends from Marcella in the book. Um, Another good friend from Nashville. I'm not gonna. Some of them I changed their names or tweak their names a little bit. There's a Sean character who's like one of my cousins, you know, but I try to describe them as close to the real people as possible to where it makes sense in the story as well, if that makes sense. And sometimes I'll incorporate like personal bits, like I might name like little Easter eggs, they say. I might name like one of my old neighbors, you know, because I knew my mom was going to read the book. So I dropped one of my old neighbors' names in there and she loved it, you know, because with the way I described the neighbor, she was like, that was perfect, you know. Um, just like little things like adding street names to something, or I might use someone's middle name as a business name, you know, like little small things. Everything is intentional.
Yeah.
Everything's intentional. So like you might think something's just like, oh, that's just so random. Why would you? But it's because I know the story behind it. I know that name. I know that number. Sometimes there are numbers in there that I'm dropping. It might be like my old phone number. And you might get like the last four digits of an old phone number in there as a house number. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But like it's so intentional to me that everything is like thought out. Like the name of every business, there's something behind it. The name of every person, it's, you know, in some way, shape, or form is based on a real person, regardless of if they've done these things or not. I mean, we're not out here stabbing folks, but just in
Mm.
case, you
Mm,
know.
mm,
Uh, yeah, you know what? I'll stop there.
I ain't trying to go to jail. No.
Nope,
Right.
nope.
So, is anyone safe? Who would be safe, like to not be in?
I guess it depends because one of my friends, her oldest son's father, I wrote him into the book, but we kill him.
Mm.
And he found out about this. And like one time he called me, he was like, hey, can I not die in the book? And I was like, no, I'm definitely killing you. Like I'm definitely like I don't like him. He knows this, you know. He tries. He tries. He reaches out. He'll like, hey man, like and like once he was like, can I just not die in the book? I was like, no, you're gonna die.
I,
Project cannot.
Friends and enemies are safe. I mean, friends and enemies are a go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Everybody can get it. Everybody.
Not
That,
interviewees, right?
No, not the interviewees. No,
Okay.
you guys are good. You
be
guys are
like,
Right.
right, right, right.
be like, man, clutching my pearls.
It's
Like,
gonna
yeah,
be
somebody else.
the
I know,
Zoom has
right?
ended.
You know what? I thank God bless you. Thank you, because there's been some things I've written, and I cast some friends. They're like, "Hey, man, so you're not gonna kill me, right?" I'm like, "No, no." First one off, just because you asked
Yep,
me,
just because you asked.
just
Just
because
because
you,
you asked.
and it's gonna be the most creative.
Yep. But I
um,
feel like deaths are important. And listen, when you write a death,
mm,
either make it fun or make it important. You
right.
know, I wrote
Real.
Lethal Legacy with my writing partner, Kyle Williams, and I think like I mean we were marketing everybody. Everybody was getting
Hmm.
it. And
I didn't want to tell the story, but yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
sorry, maybe I'm jumping ahead
No,
because
no, you're good. We're good. We'll piggyback and we'll talk about it.
okay, because I mean people were just getting it left and right. And I didn't mean for it to happen that way. It just kind of happened. But like, no one was safe. I think you have to I really think that tells a true story. None of us are safe. If I'm
Right.
keeping it real, none of us are safe. In America, in the world, none of
Mm,
us are safe. Anyone can get it, And it's sad to say it like that, but it's true. Like, especially depending on someone's intentions, you know,
Yeah.
people are out here killing people for no reason these days.
yeah.
So I do think there's something to be said. Like art really doesn't imitate life because
Hmm.
there are people who will unfortunately become a
Yeah.
victim for no reason. And I
Smallest
think,
thing.
oh, I didn't mean to bring the mood down. My bad, y'all.
No, no, you good. No, because this is us talking about films, and that's really, like you said, that's really what happened. Like I'm thinking about like you telling us about how you write these stories, how we go about it. That's what I
Yep,
do too, because I say no, nobody's safe. Even me as the main character can get it. You just never know to
yep,
push the story further to building that intensity.
yeah.
Um, and what I was going to ask you earlier is that so I know you scary movie buff. Which ones are your favorite scary movies? Like, what's your top five?
So Scream is always my number one.
Okay.
In no particular order, I'll give you The Strangers. And
Mm,
for my birthday last year, The Strangers sent me these autographed posters. They autographed me some posters from the movie that came out like a year or two ago. So
that's dope.
I got those hanging on the wall. Um, I'm kind of in between. Like I Know What You Did Last Summer was a fun one.
Okay.
You know, I think that was like a great like
Yeah.
thriller situation. Of course, I'm like sticking with like 90s themes here.
Mm,
Like
Yeah.
90s and early 2000s. When you kind of go back to like the early, I won't say slash, but like the early characters, I kind of like Michael Myers, like the Halloween
mm-hmm.
series. So,
Yeah.
you really have to suspend belief to like, especially like Freddy Krueger with his arm stretching out 40 feet
The
to
first
scratch
one.
walls. But
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger's a fun character.
He's a jerk, but he's yeah.
He's a jerk, but he's a fun
Yeah.
character. He's
Yeah.
definitely a jerk, but a fun character. And then also I think lastly, was it Sinister? I think it was the name. It was like
That
a
was a
found footage situation, and they've
mm,
made two of them. But
mm,
like it's always the same story. The husband moves the family into a house that he found for $12 on eBay, and
mm,
he finds a box of tapes, watches the tape of how the house becomes haunted. So
yeah.
that was a fun because sometimes you see a lot of these remakes and you're just like, oh, another one. But that was actually really well done. So I think I
Yeah.
put that on top. I will also say these streamers are getting really good with their horror movies. Netflix
Yeah.
has a good scary movie. It's called Push.
Mm,
Yeah, I think it's Push.
okay.
And it's about a deaf woman who doesn't realize she's being stalked. And this guy is like watching her, and then eventually like, he gets inside the house. Oh, it's Hush, not Push. It's Hush.
Hush. Okay.
Hush. Um, and he gets inside, and it's intense. I was like, yo, that was actually I'll probably put that like, especially in a top 10. It could be close to a top five situation, but Hush is definitely a great one. Um, and then there's Open House, and the reason why I mentioned Open House is because it's another streamer, it's another
Mm,
Netflix thriller, but the ending, I was just
Mm.
like, oh shit, you know, what just
Yeah,
happened? You
yeah,
know, I love those kind of endings when you're just
yeah.
like, when you think it's gonna go to give you one more scene and then it's over and
Hmm.
you're just like, what
Wait,
happened?
wait, wait,
You
wait a
know,
minute. Where did this came
you gotta
from?
you gotta rewind to make sure, like, wait, did I skip something?
Yeah,
So I would say those like my top horror films.
gotcha, gotcha. Love it, man. Yeah, it's the
Oh,
ones with the Oh, go ahead, Q.
I didn't want nothing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, like your mic didn't pick up what you were saying,
Yeah, yeah.
so
You might
we were,
pick up right
we
there.
were all leaning in, like,
Let me fix my mic.
what were you
Probably because
saying?
I was talking. Oh no, I was just about to ask you a question about kind of it was writing, but go ahead. James had a question off of what you were talking
Oh
about.
yeah,
So yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's the ones with the like the poltergeist, like taking over the house. They what do you want to call it? The spirits, like the evil spirits.
yeah,
Yeah, I watch it, but I'll trick myself to laugh while I'm watching it, so I don't scare me myself because I can't deal
yeah.
with the I get the sage out. I'm like I don't got time for none of this. I'll be getting mad, fussing at the TV. I'm like, where are the demon? The demons coming out of nowhere, but where is God and the angel at? Like, come on now, stop playing with me. So, yeah, those are the ones that get me. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the ones that are like spiritual based, like with the demons and stuff like that. I
no,
worked on a movie called The Nun, the
you
first Nun,
did, yeah.
and there like towards the end, I was just like, I mean, we gotta wrap this up. We gotta wrap this up. There was one time because you know, like the stages are dark. You know,
Right.
like these stages are dark. They film
Mhm.
most of it overseas, like actually on location at Romania, whatever. But they filmed some stuff here at the Brothers lot in Burbank. And one day I'm just waddling around, just checking out stuff, and
Mhm.
I come across this set, and it was like just a tunnel,
Mhm.
and it's that part. But wait, now check this out. Me being a black dude, now normally we was ran away. No, I said, "Ooh," that's what I said. I said, "Ooh," I started waddling down the tunnel.
Uh-oh. Cardinal sin.
All bad. All bad.
I'm waddling down the tunnel. I'm just checking. I was like, "Oh, this is some really good set design." Next thing you know, I heard
Yeah,
a scream, and I said, "Nope."
yeah,
That's when it
yeah.
kicked in. Feet
Learned your
don't
lesson.
fail me now. Out the door.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were filming. We were still rolling. So the scream, I know where the scream came from, but that was my sign.
Yeah.
I gotta go. Exit stage left. I'm out
Yeah.
of here. That was fun. Never again.
I wanted to ask you, just hearing it, I know you may be giving it to us like in a fast bit, but what was some challenges that you faced? And then I'm another thing I'm hearing, like, what was like a young Joe thinking about, dreaming about, or like how were you pushing yourself, or how did you get to move forward? Like, have you like what type of person are you when it comes to obstacles and goals and achieving the things that you want to achieve?
Man, I gotta say, I work out of spite.
Mm.
Okay.
And I think that started when I was working on Nashville because my trajectory on Nashville, it happened very quickly. I was a background actor first. And mind you, I'm coming off of doing reality. So I was producing reality for 4 years. Like I was doing reality shows and music videos and commercials, and I was in school. It was a lot going on.
Mm.
Nashville
So even
Joe,
even like when you before you got to do the music videos and like kind of get into the world, what was it like to get to the world? You know what I
okay.
mean? And then
So
trans.
we'll go all the way back then. Originally I was going to study psychology. That was what I went to school for originally. I always said I was going to be the Black Fraser. I said I was going to
Mm.
become a therapist, move to Seattle, have a radio talk show, and sit in my little condo with my puppy and be left alone. That was
Mm.
always what I thought I was going to do when I was in middle school. All right. But I was still, doing my little stage productions in school and stuff like that along the way. As I got older, and I was coming out of high school, like I always had a video camera in my hand. Like I always had a video camera. I'm always walking around filming stuff like in school. And then after school, everyone's like, so I guess you're gonna go into like the industry, right? And I was just like, I don't know, because I didn't know. I didn't know
Yeah.
I was like, it's like, where do you start? So I went to college studying psychology. Like I'm in class, doing my thing. And at this point, like I'm still shooting music videos and stuff, but I didn't know how to navigate the business. I didn't know what business to navigate. So then I launched a series called the Joe Carroll Experience, and I would follow Nashville artists around, and I would do little mini documentaries on them, like little anywhere between 2 to 12 minutes. And I was always picking like artists that I love because I was just now discovering the indie music scene. So many things were happening at this time, guys. So I was in real estate. I was trying to pursue acting. I was trying to do videos. Like at 2006, I worked 4 jobs. It was all over the place. So I promise I'm getting there. Um,
Yeah.
so from 2008 until 2012, so I got my first real background gig in 2008. I was in the Hannah Montana movie. And so that was like my first big production I got to work on. And then from there, I started doing like PA work on reality shows. And I worked my way up through casting. Then I started producing. And so I did that for 4 years. Mind you, I'm still in school studying psychology. I'm still shooting music videos. And now I'm working on like reality shows. And I was still doing like commercials on camera, like commercials and music videos and short films. I told you guys I'm all over the place.
Hey.
Um, I'm all over the place. So 2012 rolls
Driven.
around. What's that?
You're driven, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
Like I'm just doing stuff.
it's
Yeah.
I'm just out here doing stuff, 2012 rolls around. That's when I get my first call to come work on Nashville. I had just finished school at this point. So I was like, all right, cool. Like I'll go check it out. And I think I was still doing my commercial. Like I was still doing commercials and music videos in that business. Um, I showed up, I did background work on the first season in Nashville. Towards the end of the first season, this is where things changed. Um, I started networking with the crew, and I was like, I'd love to work on the crew. And so they brought me in to be a PA, and I was just like, yo, this is it. You know how we are. I was like, this is it. We in this thing, having a great time. Then I became a stand-in for the only black actor on the show at the time, Robert Wisdom.
Mhm.
So they let me stand in for him. So season 2 rolls around, and they're like, okay, come back as the stand-in like full time for Robert. I was like, great. And being a stand-in is great. You get paid a little bit more, like it's more on-camera work, but you're not seen.
Right.
Excuse me. First day of filming on season 2 of Nashville, they're like, oh, Robert's leaving the show. I'll be damned. It's day
Oh.
one. And he's the only black dude on the show. I was like, what about me? What
Yeah.
about Bob?
Like, please.
Like, what about me? Come on, guys. So, I'm talking to him. I was like, look, here I go. Can't you stay a few more episodes? Like, think about me, I'm talking to this actor who's sitting in his cast chair. He's trying to learn his lines. I'm all like, can't you do like a few more episodes? Like, I gotta pay my phone bill. Um, and so they were nice enough to let me come on board on the crew as a PA.
Mhm.
This is where things, this is where I'm answering your question now. So
you're good.
Nashville's very tight knit. It's very, especially the show. Um, it was a small crew. Everyone knew each other. There weren't a lot of backups or fill-ins. Like everyone was there every day, and it was tough to break in
Mhm.
that business because I was only coming in as an additional PA at first, and then a spot opened up where they want to hire a full-time person. I was also one of the few people of color on the show.
Mhm.
And so when I met the other one, because it was two of us, I was like, hey, what? He was like, hey, we were
Yeah.
like, Then they brought on a third
Love those
person.
moments.
Yeah.
And we were all, then it became the Spider-Man meme. We were like,
Everybody just point at each.
hey,
Yeah.
we in the hallway, like, and,
Yeah.
but we were definitely singled out
Yeah.
from time to time. And that's kind of what soured the experience. And I'm not making this just a race thing, but we were definitely singled out. It was definitely
It's
it was
noticeable.
definitely cliquish.
Yeah.
I'm still grateful for the experience. Like I'm still grateful for the work, but when it was time for me to move to LA, I met one of the writers, we became very close. and she invited me to come visit the room in LA. And I was like, wow, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. So I came to visit LA. It was 2012. I stayed with a friend. I came, and they were trying to not let me in the room. Some of the people were trying not to let me come. And I'm gonna say this: a writer's room is very sacred. So I understand now that I'm in writer's rooms. I understand. I'm like, oh, I understand why we don't want people in here.
Right.
I was the lamp in the corner. When I say I sat there, I don't even remember breathing. I just sat there and I was just like, I'm here. I was like, this is
Yeah.
happening. It's happening. And they were writing the finale for season 2, and I was just like, it's happening. Like I was just like, oh my God. And you have all these ideas and you want to say them out loud, but like if you're ever invited to sit in a writer's room, don't say a word. Don't even
Gotcha.
breathe. Just sit there. But I came back and I had been offered a job here in LA, but I was like, oh no. I was like, I'm not moving to LA. Like I'm just here to visit,
Yeah.
you know. And I got offered a place to live, and I was like, oh no, I'm not coming back. Like I got work in Nashville, you
Hmm.
know. I went back to Nashville, the show wrapped, and then I had nothing. Everything just went away. The season 2 wrap, all my clients were just kind of like, we're good. We don't need anything at the moment. And I had nothing going on. I was just like, I was like, what do I do? And I was like, well, and so I called the guy in LA who offered me the job, and I was like, hey, is that still on the table? It's like, whenever you're ready. When I was leaving Nashville, like I made the decision to leave towards the end of season 2. And I told some crew members, like, I was like, I'm moving to LA, we'll see how it works. And they're like, oh, you'll be back in a few months, you'll be back in a year. And this was coming from people who made the move and it didn't work out for them. And I
Hmm.
was like, we'll see. And so every year I made a point to go back and tell them, it's like, hey, guess what? I just beat your record, you know. Now it's been 11 years. This has been 11 years. That was 11 years ago I moved to LA. And I've
Right.
outlasted everyone that said I wasn't gonna make it or whatever time frame they gave me. So I operate out of spite. I operate
Mm.
out of spite. I
Yeah.
love telling people, it's like, guess what I did that you said I couldn't do?
Mm.
Um, I know it sounds really terrible, but I think that's how a lot of people, I feel like if everyone operates out of spite, we get a lot more done.
Mm.
I'm just being, if I'm just being
Got,
honest,
got that chip on your shoulder right there. Like,
you
like
know?
I'm, yeah, I get it. Trust me.
Yeah,
There's been people that said some stuff about me. I'm like, okay, I got you. And I
yeah,
look back and I'm like, look at that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
And I do think there's something about just doing there's a freedom to doing what you want to do and what you say you're going to do.
Mm.
Like I do think there's like I'm one of those people, if I tell you I'm about to do something, it might take me a minute, but I'm going to get it done,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I do think there's like something to that, like to to you as a person. I've been seeing people call folks like the NPCs, the non-playable characters. I think that's so funny, but it's so true now. Like
Yeah, it
I do
is.
think like I see it now. Like there are people who are like I hate to say this, but like they're seat fillers. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they're there to fill the seat.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know, like they play their roles, they play their parts,
Yeah.
and then there's us who's out here moving around them and making we're the action. It's not
Mhm.
about like being what do they call that? The not lead player energy. What is it called?
Main character energy.
Main character.
Yeah.
We're not always the main character. Like we're someone's NPC in their life.
Right.
You know, there's someone who sees us as a person who's just sitting around doing nothing, or just in the background.
Yeah.
But I live my life like I'm the main character of my own movie.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, like here we go, another act, another chapter.
Yeah.
And I do so much. I'm like, if I had to write the memoir, I'm not gonna remember any of this. I'm just out here doing stuff.
Right. Right. Good.
Yeah. So you mentioned like the writer's room. So from Nashville to now LA, writing on projects like Bel Air, The Residents, and The Shy. What is kind of that writer's room? How does that feel to you, and what is that like, that whole experience?
Let me make sure I clarify because I don't want anyone to say I'm out here lying. I'm only a writer that works these shows. So I have
Mm.
no credited episodes on these shows that I've worked on, like credit as a writer. So I was gonna make sure I don't want nobody here to be like, oh, Joe, I hear lie on I am in the writers' rooms. You know what I'm saying? Because you know how people talk, you know how they are.
Right.
Um, however,
Is
comma.
it like being there, right? You're just there. They've invited you to get the experience.
Oh
Is
no,
that
I'm
what it?
I'm still working on these shows. Let me be very
Okay.
clear. I'm
Mm.
still I'm
Okay.
still very much in these shows and in these writers' rooms. I've
All
worked
right.
on the first three seasons of Bel-Air. I did seasons
Nice.
4 and 5 of The Resident, and I've been on seasons 4 through 7 of The Shy. And then we're starting season 8 in a few weeks. So um, every room's different.
Mm.
Every room is a different experience. And oh,
Mhm.
every show is different because
Yeah.
sometimes even rooms are different from being on set. I started my very first show. I'm not gonna go on that story. My second show was
We want the first one.
I was on, okay, the very first one, I didn't last very long. It was a show on a streamer that bought everything, so you can figure out which one I'm talking about.
Mm.
And the show's already canceled, but it wasn't a great first experience.
Mm.
And like the top person, I'm gonna avoid using certain phrases so that way I'm not being accused of talking about nobody. The top person was not very friendly, and a lot of people did not get along with this person.
Mm.
And in fact, my first day, somebody was walking out quitting. Like that was my very
Oh.
first day.
Oh, wow.
I'm walking in with my backpack, and because I'm a script coordinator for a lot of shows, so
Right.
I'm walking in with my backpack, and someone's walking out. They're like, "Hey, Joe." I was like, "Hey." They're like, "Bye." And I was like, "Oh." And I'm thinking like maybe they're going to a doctor's appointment or they're going to lunch. They never came back, and I was like, "This is
Oh.
my first day," and someone's walking out. Like that was my first day, and I was just like, "Oh." I sat in the room for about 2 days, and someone pulled me to the side on my second day. I was like, "Don't come back to the room," and I
Mm.
was just like, "What?" And they're like, "Don't come back to the room." And I was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "This person that like the top person doesn't like you. I don't know why. I don't know what you did, but they don't like you. Don't come back." And I was just like, so I just sat in my office for like 2 months, like listening, like working, listening to Spotify. It was very awkward because I had just started.
Yeah.
I had just started. It was my second day, and I was just like, well, this is a great first experience,
Yeah.
My
Wow.
so technically that was my first room. I'm not gonna say the name of the show, but I feel like it might be on my IMDb, so you might be able to figure it out. My second room was
Mm.
Boomerang, season 2 for BET.
Mm.
That was so much fun. I was there,
Yeah.
we were there every day talking storylines. And let me say I am like participating with the writers on these shows that I'm working on. Like I co-wrote a story for Bel Air season 2, but we'll get into why that didn't happen. But Boomerang was more fun because like we're in there kicking it, we're cackling, coming up with these stories, and we're there all day. We have lunch and we go home. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like this is what we get paid to do. I love it. Not every experience is like that.
Is
Mm.
You know,
okay.
there are some rooms where, and I've seen and I've been in some of these rooms where people are literally just like watching the clock, waiting
Mm.
for the day to end. And it'll be like 4:35, whatever time, and you just see those cameras go off because it was all Zoom. It was all Zoom rooms except for Boomerang. Boomerang was in person. Then we had COVID, so all of my rooms have been Zoom rooms since 2020, and I'm doing what 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 seasons of TV, and they've all been Zoom rooms. So um, every room's different. I feel like I'm kind of rambling there, but like every room's different. Every experience has been different. I took something away from everything because, especially, I think when I go into a room, I'm watching the producers and learning how to like show run and how to put together these shows. Like the writing, I've sat in these rooms enough where I'm just like, cool, I can go write my own stuff. Now I'm learning how to produce these shows. Like, what are the conversations that need to be had about casting? What are the conversations that need to be had about these locations? You know, whose manager is problematic? Whose agent should I call if I want to hire someone? Like you're learning all these things where it prepares you for like running your own show and your own production. I hope that answered your question because I just kind of went.
No.
No,
Oh,
No.
that answers. Trust me, man. Like we said, we tell everybody that comes on here that to share whatever you can, and I'm glad that you didn't share what that was. Who like remember, we don't want you to get in
yeah,
trouble, but we thank you for it because it's like our time to highlight you and what you've done and your experience, and we appreciate that too because, like I said, we're actors, writers, directors as well too, and
yeah.
we've been through those experiences, so it feels good to hear about others that are up, at your level and your tier to share the experiences, so we know, okay, be careful and be mindful of this, be careful and mindful of that. It helps us
Yeah.
because, like you said, everybody's writing room is different, everybody's story is different, and
Yeah.
we have to know how to navigate the best way we can, so that way we can protect ourselves and teach others. Denzel
Yeah.
Washington, can't take it with you. Teach others
Yeah.
to, watch out for what happens. So thank you.
You know, no, it's funny because let me just make sure I'm very clear on what when I say let me be very clear, I said that to a producer once and she called me instantly. She was like, "Oh, hang on a minute. Let me be very clear. I'm not worried about getting in trouble. Like
Mm,
when I need to say something about someone, I will give the names,
right.
Like I have no problem putting a person on blast when it's necessary.
Absolutely.
And I think some people should be put on blast, whether it's necessary or not.
Hmm.
I do think that we as Black people and people of color who are trying to navigate the entertainment space,
Hmm.
we have to walk in prepared
Yes.
Mhm.
and we have to put ourselves in positions to be prepared.
Mhm.
Working on Nashville, it wasn't the best experience, but it was the best experience
Mhm.
Mhm.
because I got to watch everything happen.
Yeah.
And when I came to LA, I was so prepared and ready because when I started working on these shows, like you don't want to go backwards. I've worked on so many shows and projects, like on set, being like started as a PA. I came in, my first job in LA, I was producing for a gambling network. Um, like it was wild, like live television all day, every day. It was a gambling network, but we were live broadcasts, and I sat in the booth every day as a PA, 5 days a week, watching the directors. And then one of the directors quit. And they're like, we have this open director slot. And I said, oh, I was like, I'd like to try that out. And so one day they said, hey, John, you want to fill in the slot? I was like, of course I do. So next thing you know, I'm directing live television. And I don't know for anyone that's not familiar for like directing like the news or live television, these booths are insane. There's there's so many people around you talking. Imagine I'm sitting in this chair as a director and I have 4 to 6 people behind me yelling things at screens, and I'm having to control everything that you see that's on television, And I mean it's everything. Sound, music, like the graphics, the credits, like you're calling all these things. There's no break. There's no break. You're talking from the moment you come back from commercial until that commercial rolls. Commercial breaks save lives, let me tell you, because you have 90 seconds to just hold and not say a word until you come back. But it prepared me, working on Nashville, I got to see all this, all how it all happened, and then that made me better to say, okay, I don't need this. I need that. I need to do this. And I operate from a place of just I want to come in and make people feel like, damn, this is big league right here. You know, when I finally got the chance to direct Lethal Legacy, it was so funny because we didn't know I was going to be the director. Like we were still waiting on network approval for me to direct this movie. So Kyle and I had already written the movie, but they're like, well, we pitched you as the director. This is from the producers. We pitched you as the director, but we haven't gotten the okay yet. And I was like, okay. So I'm just waiting, But they said, but let's go ahead and start prepping with you just in case. And I was like, okay. So we're prepping, we're prepping. I'm going through it. And then it's like day one of shooting. And I'm looking around jokingly. I was like, so is it going to be me? Like, because we never got the okay from the network. So I was like, well, I guess it's me. But I ran that ship like we were in and out. We were rapping early because I knew what I wanted. I knew what I needed. And all these years of working on all these other productions prepared me to where I could lead effectively, and lead my crew and lead my cast. So that everyone was proud of what we were doing. Because at the end of the day, I was gonna make sure everyone's proud of what they're working on. Because I want to be proud of it too, you know. Um, so there I go rambling again. I'm gonna sip my coffee while
No, you good. You good. Go ahead, Lachey.
I don't want to give away too much, but I must say, Lethal, Lethal Legacy
Thank you.
Did
Thank
good. You did.
you. So, and you know, like you said, you don't want to give away too much, but like you see what I was talking about earlier about that little surprise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I enjoy both Lethal Legacy and the Drew Curry show. I didn't know that Drew
Yeah.
was a true story because I don't want to give nothing away. There's
No,
some
no.
real life people that
Well,
came. Yeah,
no, go
yeah.
please. I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say I didn't know that was actually a true story, and there was some real life people, stars, celebrities that knew Drew, and I was like, oh, this is a
When?
real
Yeah.
story. I'm like, okay. So
No,
hats off to you and your team.
no, thank you. You know, it's so funny because and I know y'all know we got a time limit here, but doing Lethal Legacy and then going to Fighting to Be Me, two completely different projects. You know, it's a I like to say biopic. I know some people say biopic. I think it's so stupid, but I say biopic. But it's
Yeah.
it's based on a true story. You know, Dwayne Curry was a real person to the point where, I mean, Dwayne was there with us while we're filming. Like the real Dwayne is on set
Mhm.
while I'm filming with Delon Burnside, who played Dwayne on camera. And Dwayne's there like giving Delon notes and like this is how, you know, how we did things and stuff like that. It's wild to meet the people or to have met some of the people who we're portraying in this movie.
Yeah.
Um, AJ Johnson, who you know from Baby Boy, she
Hmm.
came and played the mother in this movie. And when I tell y'all, she is such a character. I love her so much. But if you, it's the behind the scenes that make these things. So she's playing the mom. Meanwhile, I have the real mom over here, and they're both in the same room. And I'm in a corner like, what? You know, because they're not too far apart, you know, and like what you saw on camera, like what you saw in this movie, it's the real people. Like it's just so fun. Like AJ played Cynthia. Like if you met that real Cynthia, you're like, oh yeah, that's her. That
Mm.
is her. We could have honestly put a mic on the real Cynthia and just switched them out. You would never know. They
Mm.
both are a trip. DeLon Burnside really came in and killed that role. Like
Yeah.
he did the thing that needed to be done. It was such a struggle. Again, you know, I'm a thriller guy. This is a biopic, and there's drama elements. There's a whole, it's a drama, you know. But this is very different because you have to be careful because this is someone's life.
Right.
This is someone's life in my hands. You know, like I have to make sure that I'm telling the best story possible. I did not write this movie. This movie was written by LaJill Hunt, but I had to make sure that we were being true and authentic to Dwayne's story as much as possible that within reason. You're talking about someone who scammed people for $6 million
Yeah.
and owned 8 or 9 houses in a span of 20 or 30 years. I got the network's like, you got this much money, do what you can. You know, just like,
Yeah.
okay, you
Yeah.
know. And so I definitely didn't have 8 or 9 houses. I definitely didn't have custom G Wagons and all that stuff. But we did the best we could with what we got, as
Right.
long as everyone really understood like what was happening in this story.
Mm.
But we had a lot of fun. It's definitely a project I'm very glad that everyone's proud of because some people, you know, you have a lot of people who are just showing up for the work,
Right.
which is fine. You know, we all want to work and make our money, but when you have a cast and crew who wants to show up and they're happy about seeing each other, then that's what makes the difference. You know, like when you're
Really.
showing up with hugs and daps and stuff like that, and like you kind of don't want to leave, or like you're hanging around when we're wrapped, and like everybody's just kind of sitting around chilling. That's the kind of environment you want to be a part of.
Hmm. I, I agree.
So you touched on the fact that this story was, based on real life, true life. So
Mhm.
there's a couple of things that we want to touch on about your life. And
Gotta go. Thank you so much
yeah,
for having me.
no, stay with me, stay with me, stay with me. I promise it's not too bad.
He logging off.
Don't leave me. Come
Okay, Blackstreet.
So you have a particular obsession with X-Men and cooking. So we have to touch on it. There was some posts with your brother. So yeah, talk about it. Let's see. Let us in.
Where do you want to start? Because I mean, wait. Let me grab my comfort pillow here.
Okay. Look,
Yep.
There we go,
let's
right
start
there.
there. We can start right there.
What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about X-Men first. What is this obsession with X-Men?
I like.
I don't. Was
I love
that?
it.
Your
I like
favorite
to hear
character
this.
as
I love
well.
it.
Yeah. I don't know what it is that I
When did it
love.
start? Where did it start? Yeah, we need all that. Yeah.
I mean, it started like, I also I think the animated series is really what sealed the deal for me,
Yeah.
is what made me kind of look into who the X-Men were and stuff like that. Because it's funny because like a lot of people don't know that Stan created these characters, like especially like Magneto and Professor X was
Mm,
supposed to be Martin Luther King Jr.
Real
and
people.
Malcolm X. Like that blows my mind. And it kind of goes back to Simple Confessions. Like you're taking real life people and you're basing fictional characters based on who these people are, you know.
Yeah.
So even knowing that in years to come was like, oh, that makes so much sense now. You know, I don't know what it is about the X-Men. Like I've changed my office around. I have the arcade games as well, and like my arcades are downstairs.
yeah.
Um, but I have like the old scrolling fighting one from the 80s, and I have X-Men versus Street Fighter, and I'm always playing like anything X-Men, I'm there for. Um, my top, I guess I'll give you my top five. Cyclops, huge
Okay.
Cyclops fan. Magneto, Storm, Jean. Five is kind of up in the air. Like sometimes it's Rogue, sometimes it's Gambit.
Yeah.
What's that, Lachey? Well, you're on mute,
Oh,
but
you're on mute.
yeah, I'm just gonna sue. But so that was like my top five, and then I hate Wolverine. Like I've made it very public. I hate Wolverine. I
Both of
hate
our
Wolverine.
faces like what?
Yeah,
Wait, what?
His personality
I hate
and
Wolverine.
from the film,
Who hates
not cartoon.
Wolverine? Why?
I hate Wolverine. But I'll tell you why. They overhype him so much. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, I didn't think we were gonna get to this, but you asked for it. So the animated series, he's in almost every single episode.
Hmm.
And why? Why? There's an episode called Love in Vain, and it's when Rogue
Yeah.
is reunited with her old boyfriend, and then we find out he was like infected by the alien race, and they're trying to recruit
Hmm.
her to save, their colony. Why is Wolverine there?
Well, Wolverine was like a father figure to Rogue. So,
In the movie, but not in the series.
Yeah.
but in the series, they still wanted to give that interpretation.
No.
I don't
Joe's
know.
like, nah, I'm
I
not
love
happy.
Wolverine. I think he's
Like
awesome.
he said, leave him
So,
at home.
No.
We gonna have to
He,
have a
Leave the father.
they
gonna have to have
overhype him.
I'm
Him and
sorry.
those little claws. He's always running around. So, okay, again, and here's the thing, comic book and animated series are two different things. All right.
Hmm.
So, with respect to that,
Hmm.
in the animated series, which is how I think a lot of people were introduced to the X-Men,
Yeah.
depending on their age. Think about this. In all 5 seasons, he never once used those claws on a real person. He only used them on like buildings, he used
Yeah.
them on robots,
Hmm.
but he never used them on a real person. Wolverine was always needing to be saved. He would always be the
That is
first
true.
one to run in, and then a Sentinel would kick him, or Sabretooth would swipe him, Magneto would throw him, but someone would always have to come in and save him. Sometimes it was mostly Gambit, and he was always talking crap about Gambit, and then
Yeah.
Gambit would come in and save him. He was always running in, but someone always had to go in and save. Like he was always getting knocked around. You're talking the most junk, and you get knocked around the most.
The angry person, you know.
you
That's
make a
For
good
somebody
a,
in
point.
real life.
yeah, for a short, angry person. He had so many solo episodes. I felt like it was unnecessary. When he went back to Japan, he fought Silver
Mm.
Samurai. When he in episode 5, when he went to Alaska and Sabretooth chased him there.
Mm.
When he went back to Canada and was fighting Alpha Flight. Don't get me started, guys. I know season numbers and episodes.
Well,
Okay, don't do
Like
this.
let's just say I now see him in a whole nother light. So thank you.
Yeah,
We
useless.
we
He's
we
useless.
we gonna have to have you come
this
back
is an example.
on.
This is an example of the writing room. So many ideas, perspectives. So I like this. You know,
Yep.
one character can have many dimensions, and we can all have different thoughts on the same character.
You know
And
what I
then we start
appreciate?
in those whys that you talked about, writing from the end, or
Yep. And you know what I
whatever.
appreciate about this new series, X-Men 97? What Bo DeMaio said. He said this series is not a love letter to Wolverine. I said,
Yeah,
sir, you have won me over already.
yeah,
Because I know so many people is like, oh, Wolverine this and Wolverine that. It's like,
yeah,
listen, I get it. I know he's an important character. He can never die. I wish he would. He can never die. And
Yeah,
I know he's
funny.
critical of some whatever, but
oh
I'm
man,
so glad that every episode wasn't about Wolverine and X-Men 97. Like,
yeah,
I was so thankful. Like babysitting Jean before, I ain't trying to give stuff away, but
yeah.
all right.
Yeah, we definitely have to have you come back on, and we have a whole X-Men '97 spill. We definitely gotta get you come back on and talk about that. We like yes, please. Um, Changing gears for a bit because well, I know we will definitely this whole panel would have been about X-Men '97. We'll definitely get you come back
For
on
real.
if you have
Yeah.
some if in the future if you have some free time. We'll definitely have a panel we
Listen, we
talk.
can stop this Zoom and then go right into it. Like,
Yeah,
welcome back, everyone. Part two.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Just go right into it.
Oh my gosh, yes, sir. So, a few more things and we'll wrap up.
No, yeah, of course.
So, I would say, you shared so many gems and everything with us, but and we'll get to that. But what is something that you like for people to say about your legacy once your career is said and done?
I want to ask something like that, man.
Oh, I'm
Go ahead,
sorry.
go ahead, go ahead.
Go.
You good, you good.
I mean, do you want to pick, like, do you want to add to this question?
And kind of yes, I appreciate that. A second part of that is when you walk in, like, what do you leave for others? What have you heard that you leave for others? You know how like when we're great, we can't say we're great, and sometimes we
Yeah.
don't see it. But people tell us how great we are.
Yep.
What is some like what is it like working with you, and what have you heard? And with his question, yes.
I want people to feel motivated and like inspired that they can really go out and do anything they want to do. Um, I really want someone to like either meet me or finish working with me and be like, oh, like I really can go out and do this. Um, when we did Fighting to Be Me, I remember this was my second feature film. I've done a lot of shorts. I've directed a lot of shorts, but this was the second feature I've directed. And so I remember when I got there, one of the crew members, I'm not gonna single him out, but he came up to me smiling. And I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And, I'm making an effort to go around. I shake hands. I want to make sure I know everyone's name because I think it's so important. I think it's so important you know the people you're working with and the people who are
Hmm.
working for you. So I'm going around shaking hands, talking to people, trying to make sure I know who does what. It's very, very important you know everyone's position and what they can and cannot do. It's so important. Um, I shook this guy's hand, said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's just smiling. And I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, man, it's really nice to meet you. Like, I checked out I was looking at your IMDb and like, I see all the stuff you're working on. And I was like, oh, I was like, well, thank you. I was like, really appreciate that. It's nice to meet you. Come to find out, and mind you, this is only my second movie. Come to find out, he's already directed 2 or 3 feature films himself.
Hmm.
Okay. And he was working on a position. I was like, should I be working for you?
Yeah.
You know, and I knew from the moment I met him that I wanted to help him get his next project. And like figure out how I was like, how can we get you so you don't have to come back to do this again? You know. There was a young PA who worked on this movie, and I think it was like one of his first productions. And you could tell he was just nervous. He was just always just like standing around. And he was very polite. Manners go a long way. People don't have manners no more. Excuse me. He was very polite. And I was like, listen, if you have questions, feel free to come ask me. I was like, just if you see me standing around doing nothing, that's probably the best time to come ask me a question if you have questions. I was like, take advantage of it. I was like, a lot of people don't give you that access. I've definitely worked on shows and productions where I never saw the director. You know,
Hmm.
Yeah.
I've worked on stuff where I tried to ask the director a question. He just walked away in my face, and I was just like, "Oh no, you didn't."
Wow.
Um, I didn't want to be that person. Now, of course, there are intense times on set where I don't have a lot of time for questions. And I think it was like one time he's like, "So Joe, I have a question." I was like, "Come back and see me after lunch. This ain't the time." But I just try to make sure everyone has some access to get the information they need. That being said, excuse me, um, I just want people to feel empowered because there are a lot of people in this industry who want to shut you down.
Mm,
You know, I know we hear the term gatekeepers, and yeah, yeah,
mm,
and these people like these are people who are actively working to make sure you don't succeed. I
mm,
worked
Yeah.
on a show, maybe 20, whatever. I worked on a show and I was so excited about being there, and I had a great time. Like I had a great time, and I made friends with my superior, you know. Um, and then a few days later, superior turned on me out of nowhere, out of nowhere. And I was like, did I do something? And like, mind you, it was nothing inappropriate. Like we were just on set, key can, but we got the work done. But like we all got friendly. You know, it's like, hey, what's up? You know, good to see you every day. Then one day it just got cold out of nowhere. And then I found out later on this person was going out keeping me from getting work on other shows. Like was actively saying like, don't hire Joe. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? I found out later on this person had done it to other people, so it wasn't just me. But there are people who are actively out here like saying, "Don't hire Joe," and I'm like, I just showed up. Like, what did I do?
yeah.
Um, and now because of that, like, I mean, this is years later. We're coming up on like 8 or 9 years since this has happened. I'm still like blown away from time to time thinking about what I did to make this person treat me like that. Even though I know I did nothing, and I found out later on that's just how this person was. I'm still left like, could I have done something better? It's almost like I got dumped. You know, it's like, what could I have done better to make the relationship last? Um, but I try to take time now to like work with people who are trying to get into the industry and like say like, listen, this is how you need to operate. You know, it's tough because people don't want to listen. You know, people
Mhm.
show up with these egos and they think they got it. And you know, I ain't gonna lie, I was one of those I saw myself becoming one of those people, but I learned it's so much better to be prepared and
Mm,
to take when someone's really trying to pour into you, listen, you know, like really
It's
take
fun.
heed. Yeah, take heed because I ain't gonna lie, listen, pouring into people is exhausting.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Whoo,
You
every
know,
last one of us just
you know,
Can be a
pouring
bit
into people is exhausting.
yeah.
And and even when
It's
you
funny
want
because
to
my
do it,
hashtag, not to cut you off, but my hashtag is pouring to you.
yeah,
That's my
yeah,
current hashtag.
no, that's
Basically,
real.
now pouring, we don't pour into ourselves.
That's real.
We
Like you
give
have
every,
to.
but yeah,
You have to. And even when you want to do it, it's still exhausting, you know,
yeah,
and you got to make sure you're pouring to somebody who's going to appreciate it and like take what you're saying and apply it to life. That's why we go to school. We go to school to apply things to our lives, you know, and even though I was studying psychology in school, I eventually changed my major to communications, but I was able to apply what I learned from both majors, like psychology and communications, because we didn't have a film program at my school. I went to National State. We didn't have a film program. We had a video editing course. We had like a storyboarding course. Like we had elements of film school, but we didn't have a film course at National State. We had a communications major,
mhm.
but we didn't have a film division. You know what I'm saying? And so I was able to like convince my one of my professors to let us shoot short films. Like let's enter the school into short film competitions. And so then I started making a crew out of students and teachers and faculty, and we would go out and shoot these short films for like the 48-hour film festival every summer. That became our thing, you know, and then we went on to do like I think like 8 of those short films, you know, but like just being able to like lead people, I don't know. I just want to make sure like when I'm gone, you know, people just like, oh, I wouldn't have done this if Joe hadn't motivated me to get this started. You know, because there are a lot of people who want to start and just don't know where to start. I think sometimes you just need to share an idea with someone who's going to push you to start it. You know, starting is the hardest part. You just got to get the momentum.
I love that. Thank you for sharing all that and being so transparent.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, Shay, go ahead and ask the last and final question, and we'll go ahead and get Mr. Carroll out of here.
All right. So, let's see.
Don't you ask nothing about X-Men again, because let me tell you.
I won't, but you did not get the second half of my question as far as like the cooking side, but we'll talk about that later.
What was their cooking? Maybe I missed it.
Is that's something that you also like to do?
Yeah. What's funny is I was actually up at 3 o'clock this morning baking banana bread, and I'm telling you, I'm so random. I was up making banana bread. It was three o'clock in the morning. I pulled it at 3:37 this morning, and I made some deviled eggs while I was waiting because like I like to make deviled eggs and be snacking on them while I'm like watching TV. I'm
Mm-hmm.
from the South, and like my grandmother was cooking. I was watching my grandma cooking. Deviled eggs are the first thing I learned how to make. So as a kid, so I was being there. I would whip some up in like 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Love deviled eggs.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, and then after a while, I just started cooking for the family. So like now when I go home to Nashville, the family's like, "Oh, we'll see you Sunday because I'm going to make Sunday dinner." Sunday dinner is my favorite thing. So
That's
I love
awesome.
making Sunday. My last Sunday dinner I made when I was in Nashville, I did like meatloaf and baked chicken. I did mashed potatoes. I think I did sweet potatoes. I did mac and cheese, cornbread, collard greens. I did some Jiffy, some cornbread, and then what else did I do? There's some other stuff I made. Like I'm making it all from scratch. Like, and my mom's like, "How do you do it so quick?" I'm like, "Listen, I got stuff to do, so I ain't
Like,
trying to be in the kitchen all day because you go to church and then
yeah.
you
Mhm.
make
Mhm.
dinner. They gotta do the dishes. I'm trying to wrap this up, mama.
Yeah.
You
Like,
know,
go on, move out the way, move out the way. Let
Right.
me.
yeah. But no, I love cooking. Like I think it's actually my love language. Like when I have friends over, like when I'm hosting, I'm always offering to cook or make something. But I'm also paying a mortgage, so I'm not trying to be out in these streets. Like you come over here and I'm gonna put this chicken in the oven,
Makes
or I'm gonna
sense.
fry some fish. You know what I'm saying? Like most things I do are Southern inspired. I love fried catfish and spaghetti is one of my favorite meal combos. I know people say that doesn't go together, but your mama. Um,
They go together because I made it. That's why I go together.
yeah,
Haven't
Yep.
experienced that one, but I'm gonna take your word for that.
I
That
promise you, fried catfish and spaghetti is the way to go. It's the way to go.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
you have shared all of these wonderful things with us about the film industry, about your family, and all the things that you share with them, and how you pour love into them through your cooking, and then of course your X-Men issues. But no, no. But
Oh,
all jokes aside, scratch him off the pillow.
Y'all colors match too, right? You feel
Right.
that?
I see. But outside of all of that, what are at least, two really strong gems that you would like to share with our audience, just to help them along with their journey? Two of the main things that you would really encourage them to do when entering into this industry and kind of taking it by storm the way you did.
I
By
think
storm. Isn't it?
right.
You caught that, huh? You see what I did
Mm-hmm.
there?
Um, be prepared. Like, be prepared for like I won't say failure, but be prepared to like have your feelings hurt.
Mm, yeah.
For one, this business is not for the weak.
Yeah.
It is not for the weak. And have a backup plan. I always said if this doesn't work out, I can always go back to do something else. But honestly, I've been in it for so long now. My backup plans expired. I'm 2008, so I'm coming on 20 years with this. Jesus Lord, help me. Um, help me God. But like make friends. I think networking is so important. Network, like don't be afraid, like don't be shy. You can't be shy. You gotta get out of that. I'm probably gonna give you a few gems. I'm sorry, but like you got to get out and shake some hands, and like you got to network. Networking is so important, and don't network with the intention of making connections for getting ahead in your career. Network to know people, know who's out there, because some people will become your closest friends. Like even though I work on these shows, and like every experience is different for every person. But I've made some of my closest friends on some of these shows I worked on. Like here in LA, it's so hard finding your community in LA. it takes a long time. You know, if you move here by yourself and you don't know anyone, it'll take you years to like put together your circle, your community, your crew, like whatever you want to say. But be open to it. You know, just really be open to every experience because I came to LA not wanting to make friends. I came to LA like, I'm here to work. Don't talk to me. Don't invite me to nothing. I ain't here for it. I'm here to make this money, pay my rent, and get this work. That was my philosophy the whole first year I came to LA. And you know, people kept inviting me and stuff, and I was like, you know, of course I'm gonna show up. Like if you invite me, I'm gonna show up. And I'm so glad I show up because when you show up to things, you meet someone, and you meet people who might change your life.
Yeah.
You know, so you really got to show up and just have an open mind because you know I tried to play that hard ass who was like, I'm just here to make this money, you know, and it changed very quickly. I had to get out of that because the networking, the making friends, the shaking hands is what got me here, you know. And, and I don't go out looking for people to like advance my career. I'm just going out just to see who's out there.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you'll find allyship in the most unlikely places.
Do you feel that big moves are still necessary? I know at one point in time that was a thing, okay, you got to move to LA, you have to do, like, do you feel like big moves are still necessary to make it in the industry?
Let me tell you, oh God, I hate when I was in Nashville, I was like, you don't have to move to LA to make it. And then I moved to LA and I made it. And I was just like, oh no. Um, oh dear. Now, I'm not saying I've made it, but I'm making it. Like I'm trying to
Yeah.
make it happen. Would this have
Yeah.
happened if I had moved to LA? I don't think so. Now, to answer your question, I made I made a very big deal about don't move until you're ready. Establish your network where you are first before you go somewhere else. If you leave your hometown and you move somewhere else and you come back and no one recognizes you or remembers you before you left, you didn't do enough before you left. Like establish your network. If I have to go home tomorrow, I will have a job, I'll have a place to live, like I will have a community there that I left behind, that I established before I left. If you can't say you have that, it's not time to go yet. You know what I'm saying? Like do what you can at home before, unless there's an opportunity that moves you somewhere, you know, like the job offer and a place to live is what got me to LA because I wasn't going to come here with nothing. You know, I was going to show up. I was going to make sure I had what I needed to get by. This city is not easy. It's not cheap. LA is not cheap. It ain't easy. You got to have a car. I didn't have a car the first few years I lived here. You know, so I'm getting around. I
Made it,
had what's that?
made it work.
I made it work. Yeah. And like I was on the bus at first. I got a little moped. I was on a little moped, just couldn't go more than 40 miles an hour. That's how I was looking. Just speeding on down Venice, you know. And then eventually I worked and I saved up and got my car. And now we zoom, baby, you know, but it took so much time. But I had that plan. I was like, all right, cool. I know this is the first year. I'm gonna have my car by this year, you know. Um, but yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. No.
It did. It really did.
Yeah.
Thank you for
It
that.
did. And thank you
Yeah.
again, Joe, for like. Sometimes we get on. Well, every guest we have come on, it's like we want to spend so much time, but I know you have things you got to do as well. We definitely have. Would love for you to come back on the show. Any
No,
other?
thanks for having me.
Yeah. For any other future project, well, we know you have some future projects, but please, we'd love for you to come back, even to talk about X-Men, hey, or just chop it up. So
I'm not joking when I say we can stop the Zoom and start a whole new one and go right into X-Men. I'm
I'm
not
for,
joking.
I'm for real too. When X-Men '97 comes out next year, 2020, we definitely we gonna talk. Well, we gonna talk before then, but we definitely
X-Men
gonna talk.
97, listen, it ain't coming back. Well, just let it go because they keep
Yeah,
it ain't coming back. They keep posting these updates and all these delays. By the time it comes out, we're gonna forget everything that happened in the first one again. And like, damn, we got. I mean, don't get me wrong. I watch X-Men. Okay, we gotta wrap this up, guys, because I'm gonna I'll keep going. I watch X-Men at least 2 to 4 days a week.
yeah.
At least 2 to 4 days a week. Okay.
Mhm.
Like that's how often I was watching it last night while I had the bread in the oven. Don't play with me. All right.
just like to hear people's passion about something, about a thing. So that's what it
Yes.
represents to me.
Yeah.
Very passionate about
And
anything.
also, you said that you're random and everything, man. It's just you're using your gifts. You're using your
Yeah,
gifts. You're using all your gifts.
I'm
Nothing
just
wrong
all
with
over the
that, you know?
place. I'm
Yeah.
all over the place,
Yeah.
But thank you guys for having me. Like it means like hopefully, I think overall I'm leaning more into like sharing my journey just because I do feel like when people share their journeys, it can be helpful to someone who's watching and listening
Yeah.
and no idea where to start. I've started consulting now, so like I'm doing like consulting for authors, which has been a lot of fun. Because my writing partner from Lethal Legacy, Kyle Williams, um, he just published his first children's book, and so we're really excited about that. So I've been assisting him in that process, and it's nice to see people really leaning into things they want to do. I
Mm-hmm.
really think like I really think we're happier in life when we do the things we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we're doing the things we don't want to do and have to do, I think we're so much happier when we do the things we want to do. I think our quality of life is just so much better when we can look at something and say, "Oh, I did that because I wanted to and I had fun." I think that's so important to do.
Thank you
That is
again.
really awesome. Yes, thank you so much. As a writer, director, I'm kind of getting behind the scenes, and I think everything you provided today was just so inspirational, and it's definitely a motivator. So great information. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that because sometimes I'll get wordy and fly off the handle, and then I'm punching Wolverine on the pillow. So
Sometimes it's necessary every once in a while.
and then someone will have to come save him, as always.
Yeah.
Too hilarious. Joe, tell everybody where we can follow you at or find you at.
My website, joecarrollonline.com, and you can go from there. My Instagrams, I am Joe Carroll. I'm on Facebook as well. I don't know that URL, so whatever. Um, Twitter, I'm on Twitter. Joe runs this. Don't follow me there because I'll just be talking shit. Um, I also have my author page on Amazon, which I think you can find through my website as well. But all roads lead to joecarrollonline.com. I am revamping the website, but my media links are up there, current IMDb and things of that nature. Um, and so, yeah, and so I'm going to start pushing out more projects. I want to start pushing more people, the people I've been consulting, like the authors I've been working with. I want to start pushing them more. I want to be connected to people who I think are doing great things. So if you see me, you'll see them as well.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all make sure y'all check out both his projects on BET Plus, Lethal Legacy and the Dwayne Curry story. Great. Thank you, sir. So, and go ahead and get his books as well too. So, just like you said, go on to his Instagram, his website, and everything is there. So,
Simple Confessions, baby. It's on Amazon. It's still selling. Simple Confessions came out, what is this, 9 years ago yesterday. This is the 9-year anniversary of Simple Confessions. So it's still going. People are still getting their copies, and I love it. I love it. I'm
so
very grateful.
that's what I'm talking about. Congrats and congrats again, ladies and gentlemen. That is Joe Carroll of the Just Acting Up Show.